million. And we must anticipate this growth, align it with our various segments in terms of accommodations, in terms of everything else. And in this 30 million today, 46% of this 30 million middle class today is the millennial. And 72% of this millennial population today is taking decisions which are based on data insights and which are tech driven. So we have to up our ante in introducing technology, programming based on technology, evidence-based policy making to be able to ensure that people can use this ecosystem in India and come to India because of that, because this technological infrastructure, and in fact India has the most beautiful digital infrastructure stack today. You look at UPI, you look at BHIM, you look at the RuPay Pay launches that are coming in, you look at the numbers that are using this. I think we are number one when it comes to providing this. You look at the Digi Locker, you can do paperless Yatra today. You look at the Digi Yatra app, you can do seamless movement. It is not just multimodal connectivity with 10,000 kilometers of metros in 23 cities, not just 125 operational airports with 2 new airports at Navi Mumbai and Noida coming up. It is not just 10 seaports getting converted with green infrastructure for cruise terminals and 2 for yachting. It is not all of this infrastructure, but much more that is happening in terms of the digital infrastructure. I think we have to use both the physical and the digital infrastructure, ride on this digital and physical infrastructure using concepts of sustainability and service standards. And this will require huge amounts of seminars like this. India has taken some COP commitments in terms of scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 ESG goals, which we as hotels, as physical infrastructure, in terms of mobility, we have to deliver. India has also shown the world the Goa roadmap, which contains all of these green tourism. When we talk of hotels, we also need to see of what the government is doing in terms of incentivizing 1 lakh homestays. So the range is from branded 7-star hotels to local authentic experience of homestays, because lot of our economies, Arvind sir was mentioning about how manufacturing and secondary primary economies were doing and how structural reforms were happening. But I also want to mention, I've also been a student of economics. When I was in standard 12th, agriculture contributed about 70%, including disguised unemployment in agriculture, and service sector, which is the tertiary industry, was only 12%. Manufacturing was 14 to 16%. Today, in today's GDP contribution, the service sector contributes about 54%, and tourism is a service sector. In fact, it has the potential to lead. When our trade imbalances may have problems, it's the service sector which will be able to keep us buoyant in the world economics of trade and international relations. The other thing that I want to also mention, building on this whole economic model which Arvind sir spoke about, when in classical times we would speak of the classical economics, where we had 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Today, when you talk of, we are not in a classical economics world, but a policy making still talks of land, labor, capital, enterprise. They are, of course, definitely important, but we also have to understand there is one very important factor of production, which I think Bez Belua Sahab mentioned very much. He said, when he spoke of the TSA account, the tourism satellite account model, in which he clearly said, if I recall rightly, that we are only using 5 verticals. But when you look at the creative cultural economy, which is today driving your service sector, Australia started working on it in 1994, and we are working on it now. What we are trying to do is, there are 20 sectors. In the 70s, what FMCG was in the 70s, what was driving the manufacturing growth, the AVCG is driving that growth today. And there are 20 different sectors. All of them are related to our tourism, travel and hospitality sector. And this is where we must invest money, because what is this doing? One mention which has not happened on this forum yet, and I'd like to introduce, is the intellectual property rights. If you look at Berkeley, which has become the #1 public university where I also studied, it is driving the startup revolution, just as the startup revolution and incentivization is happening in our country. 1 billion has been kept for that in our own country. 2-3 last points, and I know I will keep within the time. What is happening is that in the age of the culture creative economy, land, capital, labor, enterprise has been supplemented, added, complemented by 4 other factors of production, which are ideas, which is the intellectual, the I of intellectual property rights, the ideation, the idea, which is today becoming an asset. That asset is a milch cow, if you want, generates revenue, and based on that idea asset revenue model, we have to build business models which are royalty generating. So this is a return, a retro, what you call the neo zamindari model in the fintech space of contracting and procurement. I think that is the bandwagon that we must join. I'll give you one example of how this is all coming together. Today, if you look at Netflix, if you look at The Economist, if you look at any magazine, if you look at Bloomberg, for example, if you look at Visa and MasterCard, for example, एक के साथ एक business free आ रहा है. Visa, business card, all of these Bloombergs of the world, what are they doing? They have subscription models. All the trade, travel magazines have subscription models. The magazine comes to you. In return for the magazine and the payment for the magazine, you give them your mobile number, you give them your email number, you give them your address, and then what happens? You have a collection of data. Based on that data, you build data insights. And this is what we were doing, as at least I was doing when I was DG Tourism, to use that data insights. And you would have seen, there are Harvard's report on how India travels, there's Outlook report on how India travels. India Today is going to do a report on how India travels. The ministry also comes up with its own annual compendium of how we travel. ITBC has done that recently. We need to be able to use the data that we are collecting to allow that data to speak to us, and using that data to be able to do commercial contracting. I think that is what is going to take us into the global age. People have mentioned different forms: the medical value tourism, the heal in India, the MICE, the meet in India, the wed in India, the sports, the music concert economies, shopping. Dubai was built on shopping. And how is it that we forget that shopping is such an important idea? The Ministry of Textiles has set up the Kunj recently, which is the first time where the handicrafts, artisans and the handloom textile weavers have got prominence by having a government retail market, which is a one-stop shop solution for anybody who wants to buy anything authentic which comes with a tag. I think these are the models that we need to build in the future to be able to take tourism, travel and hospitality industry into the future. Just one also important thing, because I've spoken a lot about statistics. There is something called the global indices, which is the travel and trade development index, on which India is currently at 39. And we harp a lot about how we need to improve our ranking with ease of business and all of these other things. But I will give you one example of the Southeast Asian neighborhood. Thailand is 45, Malaysia is 48, Vietnam is 84, and they get many more tourists than us. So the game is going back to the Archimedes principle, which means less inputs and more output, which is you give me the lever and I will shake and move the earth. Now what is the lever that we want? And I'm going to be little candid, and you will all excuse me because I am all your juniors, so you will have your blessings upon me when I am candid and I say this. This is a mindset change, and this is a little disruption that I'm very humbly, being from the middle of the administration, I'm daring with a disclaimer to say that when in in seminars like these, when we say that, infrastructure, logistics, ease of doing business, supply chain, destination management, I will just say one word about destination management. Destination management, I'm totally on with all the speakers who've mentioned destination management, but I'd like to just introduce one aspect of destination management. Our ancestors from 5,000 to 0 years gave us the, legacy of the built heritage, which today is the magnet which attracts tourists, right? So if we can't do a job with modern technology, with all the softwares and all the scaffolds, then I think somewhere we need to think, because our destination management needs to put architecture, needs to put aesthetics in the center of destination management.